Good morning. It's Tuesday. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Happy Taco Tuesday. Happy 2020 all fucked up weirdo situation. I'm gonna bring Christina on. I'm in my beautiful backyard. And I'll light my candle. Hi!
Hi, baby cakes. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Yeah, how about yourself?
I'm doing good. Doing good.
Yeah.
I forgot it was Cinco de Mayo. I just said Revenge of the 5th, but I totally forgot it was.
My husband, we had tacos last night for dinner, and he was like, why? He texted me like just before I came live, and he was like, why did we have tacos last night when today is like literally Taco Tuesday on Cinco de Mayo? I was like, well, we can do it again. Like, I love tacos.
Yeah,
There's no problem.
We can have tacos twice.
Yeah, we can have it as many. I mean, we have burritos like at least a half of the time that we're eating.
Oh, it's so good. And it's really not bad for you, those burritos. I mean, think about what.
No, I mean, I'm keto, so I like make a salad out of it.
Yeah, that's what I do. That's exactly what I do. Aaron makes them, and I just keep the meat out, and I just put all the veggies and beans and all that stuff in them, and I just eat it off my plate. I don't use the.
Are you vegetarian or vegan?
I don't like labels.
I know, right? Sorry, don't mean to label you.
I don't say that I'm trying to do as much plant-based as I can. That's all I say.
Eat vegetables, more of them.
Yeah. I find that when I put a label on myself, the inner child in me wants to break all the boxes. So
I
just can't do it.
Same. I have found there's this thought that I have that is been serving me, which is when I make a decision ahead of time, that serves me. So I made the decision ahead of time to eat this but not this, or indulge in that but not this, and that helps me. But yeah, the rebel Jenny comes out if I make too many rules or make them very like sticky.
That's exactly it. And then the one in me is like, I don't even know why you set the label for yourself. That's totally stupid. Let's break it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, remember? You're a rebel. You're a badass. You do what the fuck you want. And then like everything goes out. Who is this?
That's Mr. Spider. Say hello. He's my big fat cat boy. He's so huge. He's such a
I hope some more people will come in. If you're watching this, we're going to do a full moon in Scorpio kind of cast, as well as draw some cards.
Yeah.
And so share and like and comment. Tell us that you're here. And how do you want to do cards today? Do you want to pull for individual people, or do you want to pull for just like the essence of things? Or
I guess it depends on how many people join us today. If there's just a few joining, then we should probably do for individuals, I would think. Mm-hmm. It makes it much more fun. I got my roomie cards out today.
Ooh.
So I really love these. And
I love roomies.
I know, right? Before we even started, I drew one, and the one I got was Dance of the Divine Feminine. Like, how amazing, So, and
that's lovely.
It talks about like, if you think you have the choice of standing still in this life, you are completely wrong, because you're always moving.
Yeah.
Hi, Sophie. So it's basically about giving up that control and just flowing with it,
It's so apt to notice like how, and with all the planets retrograding through Capricorn, just all the planets being the outer planets, right? Being in Capricorn recently and everything that's going on there, it's like, it is challenging us to be like, look, you have your plan, but it's not meant to be this real, I mean, like so foundationally sound that it can't move. It's just like building
Yes.
buildings that are earthquake sound, right? They
Exactly.
have to
They
sway.
have
When you
to
look
be
at,
able to sway.
yes,
Exactly. And
it's
to
about
lay
making
your,
strong roots.
yeah, and to lay your plan out is amazing. But if you cannot make
Mom, catch it.
judgments
I cut off one of the
I'm
balloons.
sorry. Hey,
I cut off one of the balloon strings so I can play with it.
okay, will you take that back inside, please?
I'm trying to, but
Okay.
I can't let it touch the ground.
If you want to play outside, you have to put clothes on and shoes on, and then you can play out in the yard. Thank you. Sorry.
I'm sorry, that's totally against what we do on Full Moon. There are no shoes and no clothing allowed.
I know. I'm really just using that as a stall tactic.
But I understand what you're saying. Like laying that plan is amazing, especially now with the moon shining in that deep, deep Scorpio of exactly the truth that you want to make it. So laying that plan is great. But if you don't have sway room in that plan's going to fall. It's going to break. And then you feel like failure.
It's too rigid.
Yeah. And then you feel like failure and you carry guilt and all that shit. It's just not worth it, you know?
No. Well, and then that's when the confirmation bias comes in and is like, see, we couldn't do this. See, we didn't have it all figured out. See, this isn't going to work. Go back to what you know.
Exactly. I told you so.
We'll never try new things.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Flexibility, agility. And this is, I'm a Virgo sun. I have a Gemini rising. Both are mutable signs, right? And
I'm Virgo.
You're a Virgo sun. What's your rising?
Leo rising.
Say again.
Leo rising.
And
Sagittarius moon.
So that's the mutable. So I've got a Leo moon, hence I love camera attention, whatever. Took me a long time to just be okay with that because my Virgo self is like,
oh my God,
shouldn't you just sit down? No one wants to hear it.
What are people going to say about
what are people going to say? What if you're like perceived as uncouth or whatever? I clearly got over all of that.
You're going to show your real self in front of people? I don't know.
What if they don't like you? Then you're going to be destroyed. That's a long gone thought, by the way, if anybody's curious. This is the number of fucks given at this point in my life, and I highly recommend it.
Oh, for real. It's so liberating, right?
Yeah.
So liberating.
Yes. I remember going into a small town singing karaoke. And I had a shaved head at the time and hairy armpits, and I'm like, in my really young, Ani DeFranco feminist situation. And I go to this small town in Montana and we walk into this bar and I was like, oh, perfect. This is perfect. Because I have to be myself. I can't hide. I can't hide who I am. And that was like, personally, that helped me to understand like how much it took to just be myself and not hide. Like there was a lot of ways you can hide and be incognito and shit. And people can assume a lot of things about you. When you're out there like that, they're probably going to assume like way different things.
Yeah.
So you're just like, well.
I think that we have to remember that no matter what the fuck we do, people are going to assume shit because people just assume. And it doesn't really matter to us what they assume. And just like you, that was kind of my coming out, was doing karaoke. And that's when I decided, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then
the worst
monster was
the worst that happens?
Right? Exactly.
They'd be like, oh, that bitch is crazy. And he'd be like, yeah,
I am.
You see, I feel seen. Because I mean, everyone's lying if they are not crazy. Not crazy and like the, whatever, but it's just this is definitely a time to drop masks.
I think that to be able to flow through life in general, we call it crazy, but in actuality, it's the giving up of such boundaries and such control. So kind of what we joke around and call crazy is our ability to allow ourselves to be free.
Yes.
And isn't that an amazing thing? So call me crazy. I'm all about it.
And back to that, you know, that seed that you planted with the Rumi card, which, will you show that again? This is that, now all of a sudden I think it's unleashing the divine feminine, but you said something else maybe.
Oh, now where did I put her? Hold on.
Sorry, I put you on the spot. It's a beautiful image. But basically saying that, you know, you are not sturdy, you are not as stable as your like brain logical mind would like you to think, because that creates security. It's a lot of, it's that duality between right now actually where we're at with the lunar nodes, which is the Cancer Capricorn lunar node, where all of these eclipses have been happening over the year and a half.
Right.
All of these eclipses are based on, dancing with the feminine divine. It's like you're dancing with the receiving of this message that things are not perfect and they are perfect.
Exactly.
Things are not sturdy and they are sturdy. Like when you zoom out, everything is fine. When you zoom into certain things, they're going to seem chaotic and everything. But when you kind of like, when you remember that you get to shift perspective by being agile and having like not just a brain but a heart, you get to respond in a different way that frees you. It's like, I did say that in that one point, and I've grown since then. We're all growing. So
exactly.
I'm literally a different person than I was 2 weeks ago, yesterday. Parts of me are in different spaces, and that's exactly right. And that doesn't make me anything.
No. And there is this unfortunate thought that a lot of us live with, and it is, if I'm going to make this comment or I'm going to live my life this way right now, then I have to continue to do that, because what are people going to think if I all of a sudden change my way of life or change what I'm saying? And the thing is, we don't have to. We have every right to change our views and to change
divine
our
right
and desires and needs. Exactly. Every right to do that. And if the people around you have an issue with that, we need to remember that's their issue, not ours. Because
we're a role. We're playing roles in their story. So what's interesting, and I love this about transpersonal psychology, is that it tells us that when others have a script for us, right? There's this language around, you know, someone has a script for me. Lots of people have scripts for me, actually. I like to, you know, edit their scripts in real time now. I used to go back and hide and then edit their scripts and try to like argue with the reality of and try and change their thinking. Now I just set the boundary in real life and I say, oh, that's interesting. That's not been my experience, because they're, you know, everyone's kind of negotiating their scripts with other people. Just, I mean, I do it. And I think it's important to remember that like we are so, like the transpersonal psychology piece of it is we're trying to control others in order to control how we feel. Yes. And then we go about trying to control how others think of us so that we can feel okay. It's like, and that's all a power dynamic. We give our power away to something that's outside of us so that we feel okay. That's never going to work. That's never going to make you feel okay.
Correct.
Never.
Correct.
It's just going to make you crazy in a bad way.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I love this message of dancing with the divine feminine.
Yes. Always moving, no matter you think you're standing still, but divine says, no, you're always moving. So give it up.
Yeah. So much is always going on in here. Our thoughts, our heart beating, like the persistence of all of our body responding to whatever's going on to, like, you know, incorporate and align.
Oh, we got some agrees. I agree with that and relate to what you guys are saying. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's interesting, like if you can share that piece with those around you, in a way that is only about you, right? That's the key I've been working on, is like, because my reality is very flexible. I change a lot. And yet there are a lot of people in my life who insist that security and being the same every day is
Yeah.
very important,
Yes.
and creates a lot of like nourishment for them.
Right.
And
which we can
that's,
understand, especially when it comes to our kids. Like, if I need to be that secure, stable rock, that's fine. I understand that. 100%. I'm going to be for my children, you know.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you got to hold the riverbed, you know, I mean.
but when it comes to my friends and acquaintances and stuff, I'm not here to be the person that you want me to be.
Yeah.
I'm here to be the person that I strive to be every day. And if I'm not meeting your standards, then maybe you need to reevaluate your friendship with me. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And that's completely okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe. Yeah, I love this saying, like, I'm not for everyone.
Exactly.
Oh, you don't like what I'm saying? That's cool. I'm not for everyone. I have to, you know, it's that Brené Brown thing where it's like, I no longer negotiate my worth with other people.
Right.
It's enough for me to find it in myself and to show up as true as I can be. And if that's not for everyone, then I think that's great, because there's no way I'm for everyone.
Oh God, no.
And
Alex, I say I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm definitely somebody's favorite scotch. So
yeah, that's right. Give me a shot.
yeah,
Well,
right.
I love you. So yeah, no, and I think giving yourself freedom of choice in every moment to be who you want to be and desire what you want to desire, and let things be flexible. When people like, I mean, I've been told a lot, like, people, you know, will say, you know, that they feel freer to be themselves because of that's what happens. That's contagious, as well as like, let's lock down and police everyone for, you know, abiding by the script, right?
And I think sometimes we have to remember too, when we are so free being ourselves, as free as we can possibly be that day, when someone looks upon us with, why are you doing that? Oh my God, you know, something like that. In actuality, I feel what's going on within them is there's a little bit of, I wish I could be that free as well. You know what I'm saying? So I find that it's kind of important to, you know, like you and I do, we allow people to know, like, this is your sacred safe space. Like, you can just be you. One thing, that's awesome. And number two, I find that it's really important to try and let people know, like, hey, you know, if you want to let go of some of this control around me, you are always safe to do that. You know what I mean? Let me take you down my freedom path and show you what it's about.
Yeah.
You know
you want to try on different thoughts and like say the things that you're thinking, and then just see how they feel coming out of your mouth. Sometimes when you actually have them come out of your mouth, you're like, oh, you know what? That doesn't resonate. But until that we bring it out of the churning fucking machine that is our brain trying to make sense of everything, and say it in, you know, and again, you know, I think some of us, especially, I mean, I identify, and, you know, I identify with being like a verbal processor. I love to say things out loud and hear them. You know, I've always loved poetry written, you know, spoken out loud. I've loved to hear, you know, words of affirmation, or seriously, you know, I just love to converse.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it serves a lot of people to find your voice and say, wow, what does it feel like to say, I am becoming myself. I am curious about this thing that normally you might keep to yourself because you're you know, you're worried for whatever reason of how that lands with other people.
Right.
But yeah, to create and have that safe space, absolutely. It's like, you know, try on that thought as a new dress and just see how it fits and feels.
In front of your best friend, and doing that, you know, that blubber that's hanging over the waistline, your friend's going to be like, bitch, you look good.
But
you know what I mean?
Be embodied.
Yeah.
By the way, I need to, the Pollo Loco, your Breaking Bad sippy cup. We have one of those because we got it from Loot Crate. Did you get it from Loot
Yes,
Crate?
we got it.
Yes.
From
Amazing.
We did
Amazing.
Did you know that Aaron keeps getting notices that Loot Crate is not going to be anymore, but yet he continues to receive Loot Crate. So
my husband had put it on his credit card, right? And it was just auto shipping.
Right.
And he kept saying to me, he's like, oh, I should stop that. And I go and look at and it's just auto. I mean, he's paying it monthly, but not really like the whole thing. And I'm like, hey, so.
Dude, that's one of the reasons why the auto pay really jacks me up, because if I put it on auto pay, guess where it goes? Not in my head anymore.
Yeah, totally. And there's
about
certain
it.
things. I mean, I have a lot of auto pays that I really enjoy, and I'm happy to pay for them, you know. But yeah, it's so funny. Like, of course, for him, I was like, whatever you need to do, honey. But he did finally stop it because they were just piling up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, are you going to get a curio cabinet or are we going to stop this? Your choice. Figure that out.
Because sometimes Aaron takes some of the stuff out and like he knows like, okay, this isn't my gig, so he sends it to like his friends or whatever that
like
resonate.
I'll go shopping in our Loot Crate thing for gifts, because I'm like, because there's cool stuff, but it's not, you know, things he's into or I'm into. Exactly. And then sometimes, so I got my David Bowie shirt that way. I have a David Bowie Labyrinth shirt. It's amazing.
Yes.
I got that from Loot Crate.
I know. There's he's given me some really cool socks.
Yes, I have Harry Potter socks. I've got Kill Bill socks.
Gizmo. I got Gizmo socks.
I got Gizmo. Oh my God. I love it. Yeah, we have nerds for husbands, you guys. Yes. Husband nerds. So, we want to talk about the moon today. The moon happens to be in Libra all day today, and then tomorrow it transitions into Scorpio and is full on Thursday.
Right.
In the sign of Scorpio. And it happens really early in the morning. My ephemeris says 3:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Right.
Is when it's full.
Yeah.
And so you'll see it that night, the Thursday night. It'll be pretty full tonight, you know. So the next 3 days, get your moon water out.
Definitely. Moon water, crystals, tarot cards, divination tools. One of the things
Laura's moon sign.
Yes. One of the things that I really like to, well, there's several, but one of my favorite things to do during a Scorpio moon is to do either mirror scrying or water scrying, you know, because they're both such reflective in Scorpio's water. And the mirror scrying is the moon, you know, so bringing both of those together. I
love that. Yeah, and Scorpio is a feminine sign, a water sign, a fixed sign.
Knock it off. Scorpio to me is one of my favorite full moons because of the sexiness of it. And we'll talk more about that. So, get my damn dog out of here. Boy.
Yeah.
Come on.
It is. It's a very sexy time.
Yeah, girl. It really is. It really is. And I mean, we're talking water element anyway. And so that's emotional aspect coming in too, you know. But for this one, a kind of a special message came up. But I want to give that before we read the cards. And I want you to tell about all the, because we got like 4 planets either going into or are in retrograde already now.
Yeah. It's a little crazy. Do you want me to start with that?
Yes.
Okay, so I have notes because I finished up the Gemini season astrology yesterday and sent it off to the Magical Earth. And whenever I'm like future casting, my brain goes, whoa, whoa. And then I start like forgetting what timeline I'm in.
Yeah. Oh, get it.
So, I have my ephemeris in the back of the Magic of I.
Oh, I went online today and looked and see if they had 2021 yet. They don't, but I will tell people they're having a 75% off sale now. So if anybody's interested for 2020, get it.
I had some friends get it. It's like $7.
Yeah, it's insane.
This even as a resource as going forward, even if you forget about the calendar part of it, which I never would as a good Virgo, but just joking. Good Virgo. That's the shittiest thing I've ever said. That's not true. I've said much shittier things. I have a terrible, shitty mouth.
Oh my God.
And as we've already covered, I verbally process. So sometimes it just...
Which I love your really terrible mouth. It's called
the mouth of a sailor, the heart of a whore. So anyways, where was I? I was at the ephemeris.
Yes.
So yes, we have, it's just kind of funny. I mean, people who want to be afraid about astrology, now's the time. It's getting real out there, and it's not going to
so positive.
I know it's not going to ease up
No.
on this constellation until like 2024.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just whether or not you decide you get to be the eye of the storm. And knowledge, I think, is power, right? So this is how we stabilize, dig roots deep, and sway in the cosmic weather.
Yes.
So the moon, okay, so the sun is in Taurus still right now.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, babe.
And I'm still looking at April because I'm like, is it already May?
Yes, it is, babe.
So yeah, so I'm trying to figure out the timelines because I know Venus is about to go retrograde but has not yet gone retrograde. So and I actually not a fan of the way that this ephemeris. Oh, here we go. Okay. Yes. I'm finding the start dates. So yeah, so Pluto is already retrograde. Okay, Pluto went retrograde, and Pluto's been in Capricorn forever, it feels like, and it will be there until 2024-ish.
So forevermore. Yeah.
Forevermore. And that's when the U.S. has their Pluto return.
Right.
Okay, so Pluto return is coming for the U.S. So Pluto went retrograde on the 26th of April. Okay, so about a week ago, right? A week and a half ago, 10 days. Okay, so then on the 10th is the next one. Saturn's going retrograde on the 10th. Then on the 11th, Venus goes retrograde. Now, Saturn and Pluto are both in Capricorn. So retrograding through Capricorn, you know, they are, well, Saturn dipped into Aquarius. And it's actually went to about 1 degree before it started going back. So it's giving us a little preview of what Capricorn, Saturn in Aquarius energy is going to be. It literally went into Aquarius the day we had the shelter in space in place.
The shelter in space. We're going to call it
the shelter in space. We are sheltered in space, by the way. It's a thing. But so literally Saturn, which is the restraint, constraint, rules, government, the day it was announced that everyone should be on lockdown pretty much in the world, was the day that Saturn moved into Aquarius, which represents rebellious revolution and freedom. Right. Which is why I think people are protesting, is because they're feeling these unmet needs and they don't have freedom within themselves. And so they feel like they need to go and fight for it somewhere else. But that's a whole nother thing. But so that's being activated, right? We're being like activated by that. And we will feel that. And we have to really dissect what that means for us in and out as a generation, right? We need to understand what freedom really is.
It's the dissecting. That's a huge thing. That's a huge thing.
It is. Yes, it's huge. And Saturn dipped into Aquarius, but it's going to head back now. So starting on the 10th, it's going to retrograde and it's going to go back into Capricorn. But it won't get back into Capricorn until July. So we're in this really kind of long retrograde period with both Pluto and Saturn. And then Jupiter jumps in the mix as well. And Jupiter, so Jupiter goes retrograde on the 15th.
Right.
So let's talk about this. So we had Pluto started the trend. Okay, Pluto went retrograde the 26th of April. Then on the 10th, Saturn goes retrograde, headed back towards Capricorn to later meet up with Jupiter, right? Because they've got some unfinished business. They've already, they haven't had their conjunction yet. But Pluto's been meeting. Pluto had a meeting with Saturn, and Pluto had a meeting with Jupiter, right? There was those conjunctions, and those were weird fucking weeks, by the way. Those were if you go back and look at when that happened for you, you're probably like, oh yeah, that was fucking weird timeline shifts. Because Pluto's like, what's up, Saturn? What's up?
Right.
What do you really want to...
Pluto's showing you exactly what you need to see. Pluto's being like, okay, you see this? We need to fucking put an end to this shit. And then you have the Saturn coming into play, and Saturn's like, okay, well, let's put an end to it. Let's fucking make some noise here. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, it's like they're in that revolutionary hidden pub, and they're like, hey, do you think this is a good idea? And he's like, well, that's a fucking brilliant idea. And then Jupiter gets with Pluto, and Jupiter's like, well, that's not big enough. Let's fucking. He's like, I've got this vision. I have this vision, you guys. And so Pluto's like, hey, Saturn had this idea. Right. Or Saturn had this idea. When Jupiter's like, well, yeah. And here's a little seasoning of expansiveness. And Pluto's like,
Jupiter wants to make more.
Well, let's sign the contract because Pluto's the he's the tiller, right? He's not the tiller. That's not even. He's the excavator, right? He's the underworld. He's like, well, let's dig it all up. You got shame, let's see it. You got the Me Too movement, let's go. Because when Pluto went into Sagittarius a couple years ago, that was the day the Me Too movement started. They're like, let's pull up all the patriarchy. Let's pull it all up. And Capricorn's like, hey, so I've been operating like with these rules. These are the rules. And Pluto and Jupiter and Saturn are like cavorting against that rule. And Capricorn's having to become more responsive. Now, Capricorn's not the stick in the mud that everybody says. Right. They just want things to work. They actually don't have any dogs in the race around what the drama or the dogma is. They're like, I just want what works for most people. And so Pluto's like, well, this doesn't work for these people. And Capricorn's like, wow, I had no idea. I was just doing the paperwork.
We have so many planets in retrograde now that are going through such amazing signs, we got the Capricorn, we got going through Aquarius a little bit. We got Sag, is that the other one? And then we've got Gemini, Venus going in retrograde in Gemini, and so you're talking Venus about is gonna that beep duality,
Oh, and yes, the duality of what you love and hate, and the merging of that. Right. And what's interesting is that Mercury, when Mercury goes retrograde, they're going to start moving towards each other, right? Because Venus and Mercury have like they have like this love affair. They fucking love each other, right? And so they're just like, what up? They're like salsa dance, or no, what's that one dance where they're like, it's hard to get. They play hard to get with each other.
Oh my God.
The tango. They're tangoing. So they're, and it takes at least two to tango. But they have this, and they have this dance. So they entered Gemini at the same time from opposite directions, or they will. Mm-hmm. Right. So they were like, there's just like this whole situation going on with them. But Venus is going to be in Gemini for a long time, like 4 months. Which is usual. And then it's going to go, and that's because it's going retrograde. So it goes retrograde in Gemini on the 11th. And this is really asking us to figure out how to communicate the things that we love. Right. Gemini really wants us to understand and to connect. They want us to understand our relationships with each other and be able to communicate like fucking adults. Correct. Ourselves, and be like, well, I'm going to own myself, and then I'm going to tell you about it. It's that, the third house is this house of exploratory growth. And so it's like, I'm just going to be the tree and I'm going to let the bees come pollinate me. I'm not going to shift a lot. It's funny because Gemini is associated with like this very kind of mutable energy, but really it's stable in its mutability, right?
Yeah.
It's like you can always count on it to be agile
Well, you can always
and
count on
respond.
it to be dual personality as well.
Yes.
So
Yeah, it's going to see.
even though there's this want for connection again, especially with Venus going into retrograde, there's also, and with all of these other planets going into retrograde and saying, okay, we need to make this fucking change, right? Then you've got Venus coming into play, and Venus puts the emotion into all of this stuff that's happening. And then Venus says, well, yeah, I do want this connection, but maybe I don't. But maybe I do. But maybe I don't. And then Venus is like, are we doing this the right way? Because we need to be a little bit nice about this as well. We can't walk all over everybody. And then the other signs are like, oh, fuck you. Love you, but that's not happening today. You know what I mean? We're doing it the way we want to do it, you know?
Yeah.
And I love the fact that Venus is going into retrograde into Gemini, because Gemini is one of this, we talk about Virgo being very hard on ourselves. Gemini is extremely hard on themselves. They are their own worst enemy completely.
It's just a different way.
Yeah. It is. And so when Venus is going into retrograde here, we really get a chance not only to make this change in the world, but to make a change within ourselves of love and caring and compassion for ourselves. The only
it's
thing
the merging.
Yes. And the only thing that would change it is the other side of Gemini coming in and saying, no, I don't think that. You know what I mean? So
in Gemini energy, because it is an air sign, it's masculine by charge. But because it's dual natured and it's the twin, it's like it's both masculine and feminine in a way. And I think it's interesting that both Gemini and Libra, you know, have that kind of sense of dual nature.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then when you look at, you know, Aquarius is, you know, because the air signs, it's just a very, you know, air is air. You can't capture it.
No.
So it can only be kind of like it's a curiosity vibe. So you can kind of go down all these roads and it's not asking you to commit necessarily. And so and you don't have to notice when it merges, and you don't have to notice when it's, you know, it's a very subtle kind of energy. But when the Gemini ego, that masculine energy, gets activated, it is relentless.
Yes.
It is relentless, and it will insist upon its chaos, actually. So it can insist upon chaos as much as possible and say, no, I will not be pinned down. In fact, if you ask me to even commit to one thing, I'm going to do the exact opposite. It's the ultimate kind of, not the ultimate, but it has that rebellious quality where I will not be pinned down.
Right.
I will not commit. And so that happening while all these planets are retrograding through Capricorn, which is only, you know, it's like, if you know, because Capricorn knows, like, we're just working towards what works. If we edit out what's unnecessary,
correct,
then we don't have to waste a lot of time. That's its job. That's its, you know, and Gemini's like, but that's where the fun is. Like, what are you doing? Like, we have to kind of meander a lot and a bit and be all over the place sometimes, because that's the way we actually express ourselves, right? The expression of growth looks like chaos.
Yes.
Right? It looks like a sleepless night where all you can do is like astral project and then paint it. You know, and so there's, you know, and Neptune is still in Pisces too. Neptune has been retrograding and moving through Pisces like this, really like, just kidding. Gonna go forward and then I'm gonna go back. Oh, I love it here. They're just like, la. And so there's like this, that's what the illusion of all this, like people who think they know what reality is, even myself, it's like, I know what my reality is and that's all I know. It's based on my experience. I know enough to know that. Anyone who's basing any of their experience on what they've seen, and like, it's like illusion is at play.
Yes.
Because this
Very
is
much
you
so.
know,
Very much so right now.
Yes.
But it definitely is the time to make changes. I think right now we need to decide what changes need to be made, what the precedence is. You know what I'm saying? And with the Scorpio moon coming in, yes, we can make changes throughout the universe, and I'm all for that. But with the Scorpio moon coming in, one of the messages that I downloaded last night, especially with Scorpio being all about the sensuality, the deep passion, desires, those secrets, you know, all of those things. With that moon coming into play, the message that I downloaded last night was all about sexual trauma. And it was about this moon illuminating those secrets of past sexual trauma, not just the trauma itself, but the guilt, the embarrassment, the promiscuity, those things that we may carry with that sexual trauma from the past. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that this moon is all about not just illuminating it, but acknowledging that those secrets that we still harbor within ourselves. Gemini coming into play saying, hey, you know what, maybe we should communicate these and work through it.
And the Venus aspect being there, like, no matter what,
give yourself some love.
You have to love yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so one of the messages that I got last night, I wrote it down because, you know, it comes in and then it's like spark and it goes out. So
yes.
So I believe that what the message I got is that this moon is all about the growth of our inner gardens. And it's about the blooming of beauty and passion within us. And, you know, your Scorpio is, first of all about the hermit. So, of course, you're going to go in. And a lot of times we don't do that introspective shadow work unless it's dark moon. You know what I'm saying? But now with this full moon and Scorpio being such a deep sign.
It's such a dark, deep energy.
Exactly. And Scorpio is all about that yoni. It's all about the sexual, dark, passionate desires and secrets. And so I got this full moon is working through past sexual hurts or abuse, shining the light upon it to help it heal, ending the guilt, feelings of shame, embarrassment, self-loathing, promiscuity, things like that, you know, and then loving oneself enough to allow healing is the most important part of this moon. And that's where Venus comes into play. Very much so.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I was going to look at the aspects because for the new moon, or for the full moon rather, the moon's opposite Mercury, right? There's an opposition to Mercury in Gemini. I'm sorry.
In Scorpio.
In Scorpio. No, the moon is in Scorpio. The Mercury's in Taurus right now.
Yes.
And so, yeah, like noticing that Mercury is where the new moon was in Taurus, and they're in opposition. So of course, then that means that really the sun is conjunct Mercury at this full moon as well. And then there's a trine to Neptune. And Venus is squaring Neptune. So all of those kinds of things as well is supporting like what you're saying, where it's like there is this challenge. It's like you have to turn that corner. That square from Venus to Neptune is saying like you're not imagining your pain.
Exactly.
You're not imagining what you feel. But Gemini wants to remind you that not all of the thoughts you have are your own.
Correct.
People told you what to think about what happened to you. People told you what to think about what created what happened to you. the victim blaming that happens around all of this. Scorpio moon, that so resonates, because it's like, that's that underbelly of this. Oh, well, what was she wearing? Or even, you know, or did she benefit from someone who did this to her? Was this some kind of negotiated trade of power even?
Right.
But not looking at the fact that these power dynamics are created by what Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn are trying to rip the fuck up right now in Capricorn, which is the patriarchy.
Exactly. The patriarchy of the foundational aspect of it. The foundation is being ripped up from underneath us.
Yeah, and we built everything off of it. We built everything off of this unhealthy power dynamic.
Correct. And with the Scorpio moon, it's really illuminating not just the feelings, but it's illuminating the past. I mean, sexual abuse it stays with you forever. You can grow, and you can grow, and you can work with it, and you can even forgive. But one of the things too, sometimes when it happens, we have a very hard time forgiving ourselves, because for so long we were blamed for this happening, and we were told it was because of this. And then after it happens, you're called a whore and all of these things. So there's
or if you speak up, then you ruin something, right? I mean, like, you're the ruiner of this person's life who did this to you.
Correct.
And so you end up saying, well, I mean, for years, like I had, just a few years ago, I had some therapy where I realized I had forgiven everyone in the situation, but not myself.
Yes,
because at that age, I thought I was strong enough to handle it, and I didn't. I had built myself as a survivor rather than a victim. Something deep within me helped me to do that, even though I still felt guilt and shame and all that shit.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm with you. And that's I think that's, and one of the things is, like, I have forgiven. I've not only forgiven the other parties, but I have forgiven myself for ever feeling dirty, forever feeling non-beautiful, forever disrespecting my yoni and my body and all of those things, in my heart. And so we keep trying to pick up these scraps and keep making it the life that people think it should fucking be. And we need to realize that the foundation is being ripped up once again for the reason to illuminate these deep, 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 dark secrets, so that way we can shed them and say, oh, I have the choice to live the life that I want, not the life that people want me to live. And with the, when we talk about sexual abuse and things, it's a lifelong process sometimes and I'm not going to dare say get over it. It's a lifelong process to process it and to work on that inner self. And one of the things with this moon that I would love everybody to allow is just gain your messages from the moon, allow that illumination to happen, know that those secrets are something that you have kept, and it is time for you to release them. It's time for you to let them go. Write them down, express them, it's time to acknowledge those things. And the reason behind that time to acknowledge is because it is time for change. With all of these signs and all of these retrogrades, it is time for change. And Venus says it's time for change within you. And it's time for all of us to realize we don't have to be in relationships that we don't want to fucking be in. You know what I mean? It's time for us to realize that we deserve more. We fucking deserve more. We deserve more, not only from the outside world, but we deserve more from our fucking selves.
Yes.
Let's get real. And I think that's what this moon is really trying to, at least that's what it relates to.
Yeah. Well, we have about 10 minutes before Instagram's going to say,
fuck you.
So it's going to pull a Scorpio move and be like, I cut you out of my life.
Forever.
Right? Forever.
Remember that time you left the milk on the counter? Oh, well, I do. I know it was past life, but I still remember.
Yes. We have some, so yes, the Scorpio moon is going to be extremely beneficial for me. I'm so happy I joined this live. All this is extremely helpful. Thank you, Sophie. Yes. And to cope with it, right? Yeah. And cope means what, right? I think defining these terms for ourselves, not just, by the way, if you're not
exactly defining the term for yourself, I believe, is the key right there. Mm-hmm.
And then the fact is that if you came through this patriarchy so far unscathed by direct experience of sexual abuse, right? If that's, I mean, I've actually never met anyone. Well, no, that's not true. I've met a few, but most people have, men and women alike. There's still a lot of work, I think, to do to make sure that we hold space for those who come to us and you know, this feeling of, you know, believed experience. If someone tells you that they experienced a power dynamic that was not okay within a sexual experience, you don't have to like, you know, it doesn't have to be like the worst fucking thing for it to be the experience of being assaulted, right? Or hurt. Or traumatized by because the sexual power dynamics are built into the foundation of our society. It's part of the way. So even if we're talking about minorities who experienced feminized, like people, anyone who's not in power, anyone who's not, you know, part of the white supremacy has been feminized. And then the feminine has been degraded as lesser than. And so everyone is being kind of like fucked in that way. They're like, oh, well, you are of use to us in this way, so this is how you will be used. And this is how, even when we talk about essential workers, the way that we talk about people who are not in power is all part of this. And I know your download was about sexual, and I don't want to, you know, diminish that because Scorpio energy is very sensual and sexual and reclamation of that.
Oh yeah.
But I also want to just bring in that this reverberation, it reverberates out into everything, because we are such sensual sexual beings that it locks us down to being suppressed. We end up being suppressed in some way of being ourselves, because we can't experience our full like selves,
and how
without feeling shame, guilt,
and how
I did this to myself. I deserved that treatment. I deserved to be treated that way. I deserved disrespect. I deserved to be used.
And just those thoughts are what need to be released this moon. And the gratitude that could be given is for the illumination of that, for you being able, for us being able to acknowledge those things and saying, okay, I see this, I see you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and let this be over here, you know?
Yeah.
So you want to do our card draw? Oh,
yeah, let's do cards.
For this full moon, because Scorpio is so much about sex and yoni, go get a yoni steam. Especially if it's the flower moon. Why not? Go get a yoni steam.
Yeah, and actually, if you want tips and tricks, if you have we should do another. We should do.
Yes.
Because you can take a small quart saucepan and put it in your toilet and sit on your toilet. You empty the water out of it. It's a very simple, you can steam yourself. I'm going to be doing, I have a rose quartz yoni egg that I received from, well, I purchased it from a doula who's amazing. She's part of the Wild Woman Project, and I'm excited. I had 2 blood cycles this moon cycle. I had 2 bleeds. So I had to I was going to do my yoni practice.
I had a random menstrual cycle. I'm like, what the fuck? This is in the middle of the
I bled the day after the new moon in Taurus, and then, the full moon in Libra, and then I bled again a day after the full moon in Taurus.
Ridiculous.
And it was fresh blood. It was not old blood.
Ridiculous.
So I bled twice this cycle. Sophia says, something happened a few years ago, but you feel gross, and hearing you guys talk about it helps a lot. I thank you. I know sometimes it can be re-traumatizing.
Yeah.
we're in a cauldron. The other thing that Scorpio medicine brings up for me is cauldron.
Yes.
You know, it's like we have this collective cauldron, and you can put things into it that you want transformed, you know, and there is the cauldron of the Scorpio moon is very strong.
And it's deep and it's dark.
Yes. It's it's womb energy, like you say. It's very womb energy.
Yeah.
Actually, on my podcast, I have a womb meditation. It's one of the first, I think it's the first episode. And you can do that if you need some healing around that. It's a good one to do with the yoni steam or without, or with the yoni egg or without. You put your hands on your belly and you talk to her and let her tell you what she has to say. And the book Pussy by Regina Thornhauer, game changer. You know, the first thing we're taught when we're young is not to touch ourselves or
Right.
or whatever. And that creates, by the way, even that is a sexual abuse.
It is.
If you're taught not to touch yourself, but it's okay to, but you are told like how to pleasure a man or whatever. You have to be, you can, the age of consent is like 14, but you can't go buy a dildo until you're 18.
That's bullshit. Sophie, I want to thank you, first of all, for sharing so much with us. And I also want to know, do you mind if I show a card really quick, Jen? I don't want to talk.
No, please. If we get cut off and we're gonna, and because we've got a couple people, I think it's just Laura and Sophie, maybe one other. If you want a card, we can come back live and pull the cards, and then it'll be separate.
Yes.
So please.
Sophie, I drew a card for you when you were typing, and it is a Victory of Miriam. And the message behind this is, you feel you are immortal, and I know that you are divine. You feel you are not ready for the task, and I know that triumph is only moments away. You reach to me for protection, but you are me. And God damn it. And the protection that you seek is already with you. We are not apart. I am living through all that you are, and all that you love, all that you have lost, and all that you offer to me in surrender. I am in you as your courage and magnificence, and any task I send to you is simply one of the tasks for which you were born. You are an eagle with wings, ready to soar. So I push you from the cliff top that you may know yourself. Love you, Sophie. I know, little girl.
My little lady has come to join me. I pulled, Sophie, I pulled for you.
Birthday.
I know, she had a birthday. I pulled for you the 7 of Pentacles. And I love this version of it. It's like this person who's, you know, kind of sending their energy down to the roots. And I was, you know, the root work of rooting out, you know, we think it's like I'm reminded of the dandelion. It's like you can mow it down, but the roots persist, right? And it's because the fertile soil has no nitrogen. And, you know, the nitrogen makes a perfect place for these dandelions to grow. And so examining some of the ways that not to say it's your fault, right? But examining some of the things that those beliefs, they become like these constructs that help us continue to hold those beliefs that don't serve us. So remembering that this persistence of feeling, whatever it is, the guilt, the shame, whatever, the grossness, right? That exists not just in and of itself because of this event or because of, you know, or who you are, but it's like it's encouraged by the culture for you to feel this way. So we have 46 seconds. And so it's really important to just examine those and give them love and give that all those parts, recognizing what was yours and what's not yours.
Right.
Okay, so Laura's asking what deck is that, and I'm not sure if she's asking you or me, but I have the Light Seer Tarot
Nice. And I
by
am
Chris
reading.
Ann.
I'm reading my roomie oracle cards is what I am reading today. Do we want to cut it and then come right back and do a couple
Yes,
more
let's cut it and
cards?
come right back. I'm gonna set her up really quick with something to do as well.
All right. We'll see you all
No,
back.
So 2 seconds.
I wanted
All right, let's